And now let's get more insights this Monday morning on election-related developments. Joining us via Zoom is Professor Eric De Torres, Chairman of the University of the East Department of Political Science. Good morning, Professor Eric, and thank you so much for joining us here on Morning Matters.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Thank you for having me in your show.
All right, ito na nga, Prof. We're less than a month before the midterm elections. I wanted to ask you, do you agree with the sentiments of other political analysts when they say that this senatorial race is already becoming increasingly unpredictable?
I would agree with the political analyst, Dr. Dennis Coronation and Dr. Jean Franco. And, the way that we intend to look at it as of this point in time is that there's really a shift in terms of the momentum precisely because of the mode or the manner by which, what happened during the arrest of the former President Rodrigo Duterte. And what is actually very challenging right now is how the public would be able to shift the discourse specifically on issue-based or programmatic, manner by which they demand candidates, may it be from the national down to the local level. As you can see in the national level, the manner or the preference seems to be based on the Duterte-Marcos, conflict or challenge. So, yun yung medyo hamon sa ating mga botante ngayon kung paano ibabalik yung diskurso pagdating doon sa pagdemand. Ano ba yung plataforma de gobyerno? Ano ba yung legislative agenda ng ating mga tumatakbong kandidato lalo na sa pagkasenador?
And yun na nga, Prof. I mean, would you agree when they say that itong aresto nga ni former President Rodrigo Duterte has already become a central issue dito sa ating midterm elections?
Yes, kitang-kita natin yan nung nakaraang dalawang survey. Biglang umangat na yung standing ni Senator Bongo. Umangat na rin din yung posisyon ni Senator Bato de la Rosa, and kung mapapansin din natin ay may posibilidad din na pumasok yung mga nasa ibaba before na hindi naman napapansin, that tulad ni Congressman Rodante Marcoleta na may tsansa, ganun din pagdating doon sa mga iba pang kandidato ng PDP na kung saan very much associated sa partido ng former President Rodrigo Duterte.
And Prof, I wanted to zero in particularly dito kay Senator Bato de la Rosa, kasi grabe yung significance ng kanyang gain, particularly in the latest Pulse Asia survey. I mean, how unusual is that for a candidate to gain that much support with only less than a month left before the midterm elections? What would you attribute that to?
Well, of course, that would basically, of course, be attributed to also the very issue that he might be arrested again. They're waiting perhaps whether or not the ICC would provide arrest for that matter. So yung exposure niya ngayon lalo na, and then very much associated of course to former President Rodrigo Duterte, is the very key consideration by which biglang angat or biglang tumaas talaga yung rating ni Senator Bato de la Rosa.
Pero Prof, sabi nga nila, 'di ba, public sympathy is very difficult to measure. Sa survey hindi naman tatanungin kung naawa ka ba or so and so forth. But what do you make of this particular shift? Is it the Duterte group, the supporters solidifying their support for not just the PDP laban, ito sila Senator Bongo, but pati yung mga kaalyado nila, basically all the candidates associated or allied with the former president?
Yeah, you're correct. It's very difficult to measure in terms of sympathy, but it's a narrative game. It's the manner by which how the narrative is actually being used or portrayed to the people, especially the battle in terms of the social media and traditional media as well. So the key consideration is how do we make public become critical, especially with the advent of fake news, misinformation, disinformation, and more importantly, I always argue it's the malinformation in terms of how the people or how the electorate can become critical about these issues primarily. So we will be witnessing at least a month before the election that this and malinformation would be intensified so as to frame a particular narrative. And the fundamental challenge there is how do the Filipino people will become critical about it?
Pero ito, Prof, you have the PDP Laban candidates gaining traction in surveys leading up to the polls, but you also have Senator Amy Marcos, who has been very vocal about questioning the legality of the arrest of the former president, but still she is declining in midterm polls. What do you make of that?
Yeah, interestingly, you may call it really as Senator Amy as a close ally of the Dutertes, but I think what is being thought about by the people is the timing, right? Not everybody is like thinking that or feeling or felt the sincerity of the senator, but rather it's really more of a political show or a political gain in terms of not being able to get for example enough support, then might as well conduct a hearing. And the way that we tend to look at it as such is because of the Visayas and the Mindanao bloc. So we have to understand that the Duterte's support are coming from these major islands in our country. So for Senator Amy, strategically, doing this would be able to get or muster enough support, especially from the South.
So, Prof, nag-backfire ba yun? I mean, kasi you have Senator Amy Marcos leading the Senate hearings, di ba? Nakatatlo na nga po tayo. Did this not work in her favor? I mean, yun na nga, she's been very vocal about questioning it. Even the line of questioning dun sa mga opisyal natin, di ba, has been very straightforward. Pero it's not reflecting sa mga survey.
Yeah, it seems so. Pero let's see, we still have 1 month. If something really substantial, and of course there are some groups are really challenging Senator Amy with her recommendation, what would be next, something that would be substantive and concrete that would really say that the arrest is indeed illegal, what's next. So people are looking for something concrete and to really see her sincerity, whether or not she is a strong supporter of the Dutertes.
All right. What about Alianza bets? In contrast, several administration-backed candidates, professors such as Erwin Tulfo, Tito Soto, Bong Revilla, Lito Lapid, Camille Villar, have experienced a statistical decline, just basing on the last survey and compared to their performance in February. What factors might be contributing to this shift in support for these Alianza bets, Prof?
Well, the number one that we can really attribute it is because of the conflict. If you will also notice, the collateral with the conflict between the Dutertes and the Marcos are their candidates, specifically the candidates of the Alianza. So you can relatively see the steady decline, although not really much of a considerable percentage, but the candidates, senatorial candidates from the Alianza, can very much feel the effect of the conflict between the two families, especially when you talk about it. And again, I would like to reiterate, strategically you need the Visayas and the Mindanao bloc, which we know for a fact that this is the bailiwick of the Dutertes and they have strong support still. So we can see that the momentum has already shifted to the Duterte senatorial candidates. But of course, there are some candidates naman within the PDP are really more challenging. But if you can see the pattern that Philip Salvador is somehow gaining momentum, Rodante Marcoleta, as what I have said, is also possibly can enter the Magic 12 for that matter. So the collateral really is the Alianza candidates because of this conflict between the Duterte and the Marcoses.
Well, Prof, you did mention Visayas and Mindanao, right? Is it safe to say that these areas, these regions, will really shape the outcome of the midterm elections this year?
Oh yes, definitely it will really shape, primarily because as we all know that the northern bloc is steady, form part of the momentum of the Alianza, especially they have the Marcoses as enough political capital in the north, but it's a different story for the Visayas as well as the Mindanao bloc.
And Professor, what about, you have also Secretary Benhur Abalos and Senator Francis Tolentino struggling to gain momentum in the survey. Why do you think their numbers still remain low? What are you seeing in their campaign messaging?
Um, I think the well, of course, I think for Senator Abalos or former Secretary Abalos is a failure to capitalize of the exposure when he was still a DILG secretary. Though the awareness is basically there, you have witnessed, I have seen or observed that there are many, tarpaulins and
Yes.
very strong
Along EDSA,
messaging.
Prof. Oo.
Yeah, along EDSA. And I mean, even in the countryside, you can see the posters and the tarpaulins of Secretary Abalos. But the messaging is quite, challenging in terms of walang ano and this is just my point of view that parang kulang doon sa manner na kung saan maipapakita niya talaga yung pagiging masa niya. For that matter. And he's framing himself as masa, tagapagtanggol ng mga mahihirap, but kulang in terms of yung how people can really associate themselves with Secretary Abalos for that matter. On the other hand, for Senator Tolentino naman, Senator Tolentino is the classic example wherein nung tumawid siya sa alyansa, doon nawala talaga yung Visayas at saka Mindanao block niya. Kitang-kita doon sa pattern ng paano siya nanalo last 2022. Ang nagbigay ng boto talaga sa kanya was the Mindanao and the Visayas block, especially because of him running under the ticket of the former President Rodrigo Duterte.
But Prof, in your opinion, do you think the President Bongbong Marcos, can he still make a difference in the candidacy of his senatorial lineup using his political machinery in these final weeks leading up to May 12?
Yeah, it's still possible. The concentration really is they have to be very much strategic, and the president will be using enough or will be at this juncture in. He really wants to get 12-0 or 11-0 for that matter. He will use much political capital for these elections. The only question is it enough to be able to bolster, some of the candidates under his Alianza team? Or we can witness basically four or probably, potentially 3 or 4 potentially candidates from the PDP entering the Magic 12 for that matter.
Speaking of the Magic 12, I wanted to ask also, Prof, itong si Bam Aquino, former Senator Bam Aquino, performing well in surveys. Maasahan ba natin that will translate to votes and him really, winning a Senate seat in this midterm elections?
I do hope so. Because if you notice, like Bam and Senator Bam and Senator Kiko Pangilinan, they're seasoned senators who basically have already passed enough laws, pending bills or filed bills that are very much relevant for the country. However, it's something that I would like to go back and reiterate that, it became a Duterte Marcos issue rather than something that would, discuss about programs, advocacies, and, possible legislative agenda that this senatorial candidates should and basically focus for our electorate. And with not to mention with Senator Bam and Senator Kiko Pangilinan, you can really see that they are really on the grounds. Mas nakikisalamuha sila sa tao kasi yun yung tingin kong failure nung previous campaign the Duterte campaign, especially 2016-2019 with the advent of Senator Bongo, more on grounds approach talaga yung pakikisalamuha sa tao. And alam mo naman sa kultura natin dito sa Pilipinas, it's something that is really personal. So yun yung medyo approach na ginagawa ni Senator Kiko at saka ni Senator Bam sa kanilang approach sa kanilang kampanya ngayon.
Last 2 questions for me, Professor. Well, given these shifts and developments, I mean, do you see that voters will be using ito nga tinatawag nga na bullet voting or kumbaga yung hindi nila pupunuin yung all 12 senatorial candidates when they vote in their ballots? Is that the behavior we're going to be seeing in this coming elections?
Oh yes, definitely. Because there are some of the candidates naman, like for example, Senator Soto, Senator Ping, hindi mo na talaga yan hindi mo na talaga yan matatalo. Babagsak man yung numero nila, bababa man for quite some time, pero makakapasok at makakapasok pa rin din sila. And there are also, candidates naman din dun sa kabila, like sa PDP, na potentially pwede talagang makapasok din. Yung pattern ng behavior or voting preference ng mga Pilipino, usually hindi naman nagso-solid vote talaga na
Yes.
12-0 or 11-0 siya, for that matter, or especially pertaining to a particular political party. So talagang mix yan, depende doon sa personality, which is also a reflection on the kind of political party system that we have in our country.
And finally, Professor, with less than a month left before May 12, how much weight should we be putting on these surveys? Is there still room for changes? How unpredictable can this race get even more so?
Yeah, perhaps there could be a slight, but I think more on, for me, I would like to call on the electorate to vote and choose wisely, engage our politicians, may it be from the national down to the local, and let us demand for programs of actions, advocacy, because I think this is the only way that we can, really see that there will be changes in our country by allowing candidates, okay, to give us concrete action plans. And later on, let's decide whether or not they are indeed worthy of our votes.
All right. Well, thank you very much for joining us this morning and sharing your insights with us. That was Professor Eric De Torres, Chairman of the University of the East Political Science Department. Thank you, Professor.